Hi, I'm Robert Reich, and today I want to talk to you about public morality. We are still legislating and regulating private morality, while at the same time ignoring the much larger crisis of public morality in America. In recent weeks, for example, Republican state legislators have decided to thwart the Supreme Court's 1973 decision in Roe against Wade, which gave women the right to have an abortion until the fetus is viable outside the womb, usually around 24 weeks into a pregnancy. Legislators in North Dakota have passed a bill banning abortions after 6 weeks or after a fetal heartbeat has been detected. Lawmakers in Arkansas banned abortions after 12 weeks. This morality brigade worries about fetuses, but they don't worry about what happens to children after they're born. They and other conservatives have been cutting funding for child nutrition, for health care for infants and their mothers, for public schools. The new House Republican budget gets a big chunk of its savings from programs designed to help poor kids. The budget sequester already in effect takes aim at programs like Head Start, designed to improve the life chances of disadvantaged children. Meanwhile, the morality brigade continues to battle same-sex marriage. And you should not assume a majority of Supreme Court justices are going to strike down California's ban or the Federal Defense of Marriage Act. Conservative moralists don't want women to have control over their bodies. They don't want same-sex couples to marry. But they don't give a hoot about billionaires taking over our democracy for personal gain, or about big bankers taking over our economy. Yet these violations of public morality are far more dangerous to our society because they undermine the public trust that's so essential to both our democracy and our economy. 3 years ago, at the behest of a right-wing group called Citizens United, the Supreme Court opened the floodgates to big money in politics by deciding that corporations were people under the First Amendment. Billions were spent on the election campaigns in 2012, affecting all levels of government. Much of the money coming from billionaires like the Koch brothers and casino magnate Sheldon Adelson, and others who were seeking fewer regulations, lower taxes, weaker trade unions. These billionaires did not entirely succeed, but they established a beachhead for the midterm elections of 2014, and they will continue. Yet where is the morality brigade when it comes to these moves to take over our democracy? Among the worst violators of public morality have been executives and traders on Wall Street. J.P. Morgan Chase, the nation's biggest bank, misled its shareholders and the public about its $6 billion so-called London whale losses in 2012. This is the same J.P. Morgan, by the way, that's led the charge against the Dodd-Frank Act, designed to protect the public from another Wall Street meltdown and taxpayer-funded bailout. Lobbyists for the giant banks have been systematically taking the teeth out of Dodd-Frank, leaving nothing but the gums. The so-called Volcker rule, intended to prevent the banks from making risky bets with federally insured commercial deposits, itself a watered-down version of the old Glass-Steagall Act, still has not seen the light of day. Meanwhile, House Republicans voted to repeal the Dodd-Frank Act in its entirety as part of their budget plan. And still today, no major Wall Street executive has been held accountable for the wild betting that led to the near meltdown in 2008. Attorney General Eric Holder says the big banks are simply too big to prosecute. Why doesn't the morality brigade complain about the rampant greed on the street that's already brought the economy to its knees, wiping out the savings of millions of Americans and subjecting countless others to joblessness and economic insecurity, and seems set on doing it all over again? You see, what people do in their bedrooms should not be the public's business. Women should have the right over their own bodies. Same-sex couples should be allowed to marry. But what powerful people do in their boardrooms is the public's business. Our democracy needs to be protected from the depredations of big money. Our economy needs to be guarded against the excesses of too big to fail banks. Thanks.